This is a globe radish, Scarlet globe. I've got a container here, which was an old horse watering container. Never actually got used, I don't think. And I've drilled some holes in the bottom. So I'm going to put a little bit of grit in the bottom first. It's just washed horticultural grit. Just put enough, just really to cover the holes. First one I did of these, I put loads of grit in there, and once I put the compost in, the plants watered it, it was really heavy. So I'm just adding this compost planting mix. So you can see it here, it's a nice light planting mix, this peat-free mix. I don't overdo it with the blood, fish and bone or any fertiliser that I use with root crops, because really you want to get away with as little as possible to try and reduce the chance of them forking. And I would definitely never add manure into a container or a bed that I was going to put a root crop in, because it would probably fork. It's not so bad with radishes, but when we're getting onto things like carrots and things, it's quite bad. Now I just firm down gently with my hands, just to make sure the air pockets are worked out of it. So that's got it to a reasonable level there. But I want to plant, or rather sow, a little bit higher. So I've got this slightly lighter mix. So this planting mix is a peat-based multi-purpose compost with vermiculite worked in. And it's a bit lighter and a bit more seed friendly. So I put that in this top layer, just purely because I have found that the seed germination is much better in this planting mix. But this planting mix is obviously a lot more expensive, and I have less of this. And even though I was given the bag of peat, technically someone has paid for this bag of peat based compost, which does have a detrimental effect on the environment, the depletion of peat bogs. So I've got it to a level now that I'm happy with, which is about sort of 5 to 6 centimetres from the top there. Now, I want to maintain quite a large lip on this container for watering, so when I water I'm not washing any compost away and things like that. So all I'm going to do is put, once it's compacted back down, a top dressing of about another 1.5 centimetres on here. So at this stage, this is where I sow my radish seed. You see it there? It's a nice big seed. I don't actually need that many of them, so, but normally if I was planting these in a bed, I'd be planting in quite strict rows, so I could separate them out from weed crops and other crops that I was planting. So that's quite a generous amount of radish planted there. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is, because radishes are quite boring, and although they're fast to grow, I mean, I would expect to see these up in one week, about 7 days to 10 days. The plants will be up, and then I can be harvesting them very quickly. So, and then that will just depend on what sort of size radish I like the look of. But obviously, to pretty them up, I do the same as what I do with my carrots, and that is plant some marigolds around the edge here. And this is a marigold, a French marigold called Honeycomb. I usually use French marigolds with my carrots because they're highly scented and the scent puts off carrot fly. But just to keep a bit of consistency, that's why I'm planting these around the edge. And if I find there's too many of these, I can thin them out, but I'm doing them a bit denser than I would normally because it's old seed, so I just want to make sure that I've got a chance of some of these coming up. Just top dress that 1.5 centimetres. So just there. Now I just firm down gently, just to make sure all the seeds are in contact with the compost. That's it there. And you see there's still a good amount from the top on this type of container here. I could go higher if I wanted to, but no, this is how I like it. Yeah, and all I would do is now, as they come up and I'm picking them, when I've picked a significant amount, I can just then sow fresh radish seed. And I've got more coming up for later on. And it's as simple as that. Now this is very wet compost, particularly the top stuff I've got here. It's almost too wet, but that was a deliberate reason, is so that I don't now have to water from above. And I can't really put this in anything to soak. So, yeah. That's why the compost is nice and wet, particularly the top layer of compost. Then probably won't need watering tomorrow, but then from then on I'll just keep an eye on it and I'll just water from above. I'll start off with a small can and then I'll progress to a larger can